New areas of interest popping up all across the Atlantic and Pacific on today's Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for July 26th. Well, around the world we still have Tropical Storm Gaemi, which is still moving inland over eastern China. It'll have an enormous circulation. And what's left of Bud, which has given up the ghost very quickly indeed, and is down to a remnant low, and many other areas of interest that we're going to go through now. On the Atlantic we have two marked at the moment, a 30% chance now in the northern Atlantic there off the coast of the United States, could be affecting New England and then on towards Nova Scotia perhaps, unknown yet. 10% chance as well in the main development region, just covering our bases there, could be a small chance of development. In the eastern Pacific, 20% now in the easternmost part of the basin there, could develop into a big hurricane next week, and this 30% chance south of Hawaii, which also could develop. Could it be a Hone? Well, we'll have to wait and see. In the Western Pacific, we're also giving 30% chance for that system that's behind Gaemi that could follow in its footsteps but be a much weaker system, thankfully. It is possible that it could get towards low to mid-range tropical storm status, but it has to form first. In the North Indian Ocean, we've got nothing going on here, just a lot of cloud cover over various parts of the Bay of Bengal and spreading into central India there, so more rainfall for this region. And in the southwest Indian Ocean, there's not too much going on either, just a few clouds bobbing up here and there across the tropical region, from the Seychelles eastwards to Diego Garcia and a few other spots to the south there. But of course, in general, a quiet basin. Wouldn't expect anything less. Well, this is a Gaemi right now, which is continuing to move inland. It is currently 3 kilometers from Wanchongzhen, 71 from Xi'an, 162 from Nanchang, 292 from Changsha, and 395 from Wuhan. Well, it is currently producing still lots of rainfall on the southern and eastern extremities of the system and towards the center of it as well. Lots of persistent rainfall. It's the Hong Kong region and parts of Taiwan that are still getting battered by some strong heavy rainfall bouts, which we will see on radar in a moment. First of all though, this is how it looks on satellite, and you can see a big burst of cloud on its southern extent there. Western side looking quite bare actually. Of course it is well inland now, so it should be gradually weakening. Off the east coast of China though, those winds will remain quite high for a little while yet. We think it could still be of tropical storm strength this time tomorrow, for instance. Well, this is a closer look at it right now on the floater imagery, and just a very large storm that it is now. Its influence will be felt for hundreds of kilometers, and a few little bursts of convection up towards that top end of that imagery there as well inland too, so some storminess still occurring. Northwestern side, not very much going on in there. Obviously there's no semblance of an eye anymore. There's a very broad circulation there, which is continuing to churn and heave itself northwestwards there through China. We're looking at some peripheral radars here as well. This is Taiwan, and you can see it got thrashed with a lot of rain there on the western coast, southwestern part of the island. And this is the Hong Kong Guangdong region, and you can see there they're getting a lot of heavy rainfall as well. Could be some really squally showers and thunderstorms in the next few hours. Now this is what's left of Bud. There it is, not much left of it now, is there? Well, it was looking good yesterday and it was holding on for a little while, but it has completely deteriorated, and it is well and truly dismissed down to a remnant low. So that closes another chapter of the Eastern Pacific hurricane season, and the two first storms of the season have only managed to produce 1.5 ace. Well, in the Western Pacific, there's still this other area of interest. This is near Palau right now, and we can see it, or some semblance of it. This is 95W. That's what we've given that 30% chance to, which could end up developing into a brief tropical storm. Now, this is the eastern coast of the United States in the Atlantic. Big frontal system there moving off. A lot of dry air in the region too. Saharan dust near Bermuda even. And then into the Caribbean Sea. A pretty bare part of the basin there as well. A lot of dry air and dust again over the Lesser Antilles into Puerto Rico. And this is the coast of Africa, and throwing a lot more Saharan dust offshore there, well out over the eastern Atlantic. So it is still quite a throttled main development region at the moment. Beryl being the big exception. Well, here's the Eastern Pacific. That little flurry of cloud there off Panama and Costa Rica is probably going to be that 20% system. And Eagle Eye spot bud there in that image there near the middle of the screen. It is really struggling and barely visible even on satellite at this point. Here's the Western Pacific, showing all of that moisture and clouds associated with that recent typhoon and that next system that may form. Just a lot of stuff going on. And this is the Bay of Bengal, some hefty clouds there off the coast of Myanmar, monsoonal showers all across central India today, and the Arabian Sea spreading out into that area a little bit as well, but not too much at this particular moment in time. So let's take a look at sea surface temperatures, which are pushing up above 30 degrees Celsius towards 32 off the coast of Mexico in one or two spots there in the Eastern Pacific. Plenty of energy still to be taken advantage of, and across the Florida Peninsula as well, east and west now, extremely high sea surface temperatures down to the Keys, through the Bahamas, off Cuba, off the Cayman Islands, off Haiti, in the Gulf Stream moving northeast there as well. Very warm temperatures. Western Pacific, a similar story too. Just a small cool spot near some of those southernmost Japanese islands from Gaemi, but in general those temperatures still looking really good, especially out further east. And in the Bay of Bengal and the Northern Arabian Sea, a few spots there pushing over 29 degrees Celsius, maybe 30. Compared to average, it looks like this. The Atlantic well above average, as extremely so in the northern reaches there off Atlantic Canada, but in general in the main areas there it's around 3 degrees above. Gulf of Mexico around 2 degrees above. Eastern Pacific is around 2 to 3 degrees above average as well. One or two little cool spots there too though. Western Pacific a little bit below average now near the Philippines and near Taiwan where Gaemi was, but in general the basin is still above, especially in the subtropical regions, which is way up near Japan. Well, the oceanic heat content is still firing as well, and is recovering already a little bit after Gaemi, but off the Philippines there, moving eastwards, extremely high values. Eastern Pacific, one or two little banks of elevated values there as well. But look at the Caribbean Sea into the Gulf of Mexico, extreme values again. Huge amounts of energy here across the Caribbean Sea for any system that moves through that area near Jamaica, near the Cayman Islands, Cuba. High temperatures, high OHC, really shows could be a phenomenal strengthening phase for a storm that ends up in that area. So let's take a look at the models now. You can see what's left of Bud on the left hand side there. Look towards the top right near New York. That potential system there that could become a brief tropical cyclone. Looks like on that run it's heading for Maine. We've got a fair amount of different modelling on that. I think the Euro is taking it into Massachusetts and other models take it towards Nova Scotia. 30% on that. Now the Eastern Pacific, there's that next system forming there. 20% chance, but already a tropical storm, maybe even a hurricane in that 5-day period according to the GFS. Now here's the Central Pacific. Look out for that potential system there that might try and become a lesser spotted Hone, but moving into the Western Pacific as well, you can see a few other systems there too. Of course, the one near the Philippines trailing towards the northwest, GFS has that with tropical storm force winds. Whether it gets the circulation sorted or not is a question mark. And off towards the right hand side there over the open ocean, another system trying to develop too. Now let's take a look at rainfall expectations from what's left of Gaemi, and we're still looking at very high amounts in a few spots here. Taiwan maybe not as much now, but obviously we've seen huge amounts of rain which have probably been pushing close to 2,000 millimeters by now. But in some parts of southern China there you can still see very high amounts near Shantou. We could be looking at 30 inches there, which is certainly a high amount, 750 millimeters, and in many places inland there reaching 300 millimeters. Hong Kong possibly getting 200 millimeters there, and the southern tip of Taiwan in association with that second system maybe getting above 200 millimeters as well. Here's the Eastern Pacific in the longer range then, day 5 to 10. There's another hurricane there, a powerful hurricane even, category 3 there. That's from that 20% area of interest, and another storm off the conveyor belt behind it, potentially getting close to hurricane status 2. That's more like it from the Eastern Pacific if this actually comes to fruition. A horribly delayed start, and it is still well below average. In fact, it is about 15 times below average. I think maybe even 20 times below average. It's incredible. Western Pacific, there's that typhoon forming way out to sea, and another system forming, becoming a very large typhoon as well in the 10-day period. Still uncertain about this going on. We haven't marked either of these systems yet, but the GFS is suggesting that there could be a big typhoon forming from non-tropical origins, moving southwestwards and then stalling to the southeast of Japan. Scan the barcode and that will take you through to the Force 13 merch store, where you can take a look at all of our items as well as our full season and individual storm animations on request. And of course, I'm still waiting for a Hone t-shirt. You just know it's coming. But will the actual storm be on its way? Well, there's not one but two chances for a Hone, according to the GFS. There's a little thing on the bottom left there that tries to develop, and if the GFS has its way, that is in the Central Pacific, developing into a tropical storm and then moving off towards the northeast again as it interacts with that first tropical cyclone, which is actually a tropical storm impact for Hawaii there. So that would be interesting. And then another powerful hurricane behind that, category 4 by the looks of things, that one moving west-northwestwards, hopefully one for the fishes. That's the kind of thing we'll like to see. In the Western Pacific though, that typhoon moving very far north, by the way, and then this second one, huge, strong, powerful typhoon, 920 millibars there, high-end category 4, really careering towards the coast of Japan, weakening a lot as it gets there because it's stalling. If anything like that happened, it would be a massive rainmaker once again. As we zoom in on it now, this is a very long range though, so do not take this in on face value at all yet. But it is a reminder of what could happen in the next couple of weeks. Wow, big storm, that one. On this day, in the good old days of 2020, we had two hurricanes active, and we tracked both of them and covered both of them live. Hurricane Hannah, about to make landfall in Texas, and Hurricane Douglas, which was on its way towards Hawaii, which we covered both of them live on Force 13. Douglas, of course, reaching category 4 status earlier on. Hannah near its peak intensity with 85-mile-per-hour winds as it made landfall and sunk just a little bit southwestwards before it did so. We already had a bit of a Hannah moment this year with Beryl, of course, when it made landfall in Texas as a high-end category 1, but Beryl, it turned out to be much worse. Well, we are down to code blue with the threat from Gaemi reducing. In the Atlantic, though, the next name is Debbie. In the Eastern Pacific, it's Carlotta. In the Central Pacific, we've been given a lifeline here. 2 chances now for the Hone to be realised for the first time in nearly 5 years. In the Western Pacific, the next name is Maria. In the North Indian Ocean, it will be Asna. 27 storms so far in 2024, still well below average, and it's been like that all year so far, but it really feels like we could see some big activity on the way soon. I would have seen a little bit of that. Australian region, next name Robin, Southwest Indian Ocean, Ansha, South Pacific, Pitta. That's it from today's Tropical Weather Bulletin. We'll be back again tomorrow.
Become an Ultimate Fan today.